twist side. Go far intuition, lifting up that soul right. High low, high low, high low, high low. Elevate my love, generate my touch. Everything I see coming to me.
I can be honest with my people. And when I'm honest with my people best know how to serve me. It's no different than being spiritual and talking to God and your spirits in prayer. When I'm real with myself and real with the spirit best knows how to aid me. You understand? And so we have to think about these things.
So before we get into the juices of meeting our twin flames and all that good stuff, what is a twin flame to you?
It's your mirrored soul. It's your divine partner. It's literally you, just in another body. And when I say it's the balance of the masculine and the feminine, it can be two men together, it could be two women together. It's just who carries what more dominant energy. It's the combination or the representation of holy love. It's love with a purpose, because your twin flame is someone you are agreed to incarnate with in this dimension, to perform a particular task, to raise the vibrations of earth, to
generate my touch. Everything I see coming to me, I'm knowing. Fruits that I bear from the sowing. I just put in work to the morning, to the three bird that we heard. Stepping through the light, that's a rebirth. Giving thanks to life and the ether. I can never fall when I'm free word. Free bird, free word, free bird, free word, free bird. I'm Elo, I'm Elo, I'm Elo, I'm Elo. Sun rays like a satellite. Energies bring me back to life. Catch me. High low, high low, high low, high low. Sun rays like a satellite. Energies bring me back to life. Catch me chilling with the halo. Universal flow, I belong here. Keep that focus on that starlight. God of my universe, part of my mission, righteous the whole man. Raw splitting the sea into that twist side. Go far intuition, lifting up that soul right. High low, high low, high low, high low. Elevate my love, generate my touch. Everything I see.
You guys can't even hear me. Good night, good night, good night, beautiful people. Good night. How are you all doing? How are you all doing? Today was a nice Wednesday. A nice Wednesday. Happy Wednesday to you, beautiful people. I've had a good day. I hope you all have had a good day. I welcome you all into the space. I'm just setting myself up, making sure I'm nice and comfy for a good conversation tonight. Um, you know, we promised you all that we will be consistent and follow through, and we want to keep, you know, conversations live and interesting, but also informative at the same time, and most importantly, thought provoking. So, we definitely want you all's engagement. We want to hear your opinions. We want to hear your thoughts. We want to hear your testimonies. We want to hear, we want to hear from you. And so, I want to welcome you all tonight into the space with Shanique and myself. I'm Barbara, and I have my lovely co-host, Shanique, the one and only, the queen of the night, all you beautiful people. And so we're going to rock steady and take our time because I believe this is a topic that is probably near and dear to a lot of people, especially if you come from any form of Christianity. And I don't even want to say Islam too, although we're not speaking specifically about Islam because neither one of us have grown up Islamic, not that I know of. But I do know that there's some commonalities. So, on a general spaces, I will acknowledge commonalities, but most indefinitely, we're talking to those of us that have gone through the traditional Christian experience, whether that be Catholic, Lutheran, Pentecostal, Baptist, Methodist, all of the different denominations, holiness, all the different denominations. And even for us that are part of spiritual Baptists, because even within spiritual Baptists, there are still some conservative colonial ways in which certain things manifest. And so we want to definitely take our time and get into this topic about how Black identity has been shaped by Christianity. Some can say Christianity, some can say colonialism, but how Black identity, especially within the diaspora and even back home in the continent too, as you guys see, within the continent as well. But we want to speak on the aspect of the diaspora, the Caribbean and the Americas. So this will be for Caribbean people and for Black Americans, African Americans that have gone through experiences that we're going to talk about tonight. And so, right off the bat, I won't rain to welcome you all because I just talked for a good little bit. And so I want my co-host to welcome you all. And while she's doing that, I definitely want you all in the comments talk about how you feel. Even though we haven't gotten deep into the conversation, talk about ways in which you feel that you as an individual or your home life or your cultural identity or your experiences, fears, hesitations, decision makings, you know, uh, parables in which you may live by how these things have shaped you, be it good or indifferent or not so good. So good night, Rain. You looking good over there in pink. How you feeling, darling? I can't. Oh, hold up, hold up, hold up, hold up, hold up, hold up. There we go. You looking good, Frida. Now we can hear you.
Oh, Ricky, but pleasant good
And you got on
night.
3 rings. Don't start no trouble. And you got on 3 rings. I see you.
Pleasant good night, everyone. As I was sitting and I was listening to Ricky talk and I was listening to what the topic was going to be tonight, my mind strayed and it wandered. Because, I'm like a real astro woohoo girly.
Yes.
And this period of retrograde, I found myself talking faster than the universe had planned. And
Mm.
when I say that, I said to someone, "Oh, I'm having such an easy retrograde. No exes has popped out the woodwork. I feel like I'm managing my triggers." And I was like, "Oh, this is easy. I must have reached a new level of enlightenment." And the past couple days has been interesting for me, the way that triggers have manifested within my life. It's funny to me how when I was just talking about exes having popped up, now I have exes, popping in, want to say hello, and I always find it funny that we are so quick to talk before the universe, and the universe is always listening. And they say that saying that we make plans and God laughs. And I remember the last time I was on the show, I spoke about we're going to pass this test. And that is still my message, that we're going to pass this test. And how, for me, does this tie into how Christianity has shaped the Black identity? For me, it's always been a personal test. What is the indoctrination around me versus what I truly intrinsically feel? I was having a conversation as I was coming home this afternoon, and I was speaking about my role within the spiritual church, which is as an evangelist. And if you know me, in the Bible, we kind of have a very
Love hate relationship.
we have an interesting relationship. And I said to my friend, I said, it's funny how God has chosen me to be an evangelist and he knows how I feel about the Bible, you know? And I say that to say that a lot of times, because we are aware of how much Christianity has shaped our moral dogmas as Black people, whether on a conscious level or a subconscious level, for some of us, it can go one or two ways. It can be full indoctrination where you live your whole life based on this template that's given of moral doctrine and dogma that you're supposed to abide by, right? Or you can completely rebel and say I'm going to live absolutely carefree and not listen to these moral doctrines. But as I was saying to my friend, as I was thinking about what I wanted to say tonight, we can't deny the effects of Christianity on a whole, not even solely on Black people or people of the diaspora, but just people on the whole, and how it has affected the societal fabric of what we considered modern day law. Culture, law, religion goes hand, especially in the United States. A lot of our based on the laws that we follow in the Bible. Like for the
Especially Old
longest,
Testament. Yeah.
abortions illegal because we truly believe that life begins at inception, or is because we've been so indoctrinated by Christian beliefs and rhetoric to believe that life begins at inception from once God breathes that breath of life within that embryo. So it's like it's very hard to unweave the fabric to say what is religion, what is culture, what is identity, because from inception, some of my earliest memories is going to church. You know, for
Hmm.
Black
So
families,
that's what we're
it,
gonna take our time and build it. So let's start like the origin. Like everybody's like you just kicked the bucket right there. I want to start right there and start to build, starting at the foundation of how we grow up. You know, starting at the top. I like to like draw the map. It's not a hidden fact whether you are identify as a descendant of slaves or you consider yourself a descendant of native indigenous people, be it in the Caribbean and or in the Americas. Wherever you fall on the spectrum, Christianity was not our origin. Point blank, period. It was not our origin of faith. It was not our origin of practice. It was not our origin of belief. And you have a lot of conversation of, well, yes, Christianity was in Africa because they speak about Ethiopia and the Maccabees and the earlier first Black Bible. But even with that being said, there's history that predates the Ethiopian people. We have to go into Kush. We have to go into all of these different things that correlate to Sumerian and Kemetic teachings. So, bottom line, before there was Christianity, Judaism, and even Islam, there was a spiritual practice and a connection to source that was within us, innately within us as Black people. And now we get into this mode of the transatlantic slave movement. People are being exported out of Africa, some by force. And I'm gonna even say people laugh at me when I say this, but I'm gonna say even some by choice too. I do believe that some people chose to sacrifice themselves to bring certain wisdom and knowledge to this land. Um, but neither here, there. Upon coming to the new land, here we are, mixed people, people from different continents, different regions of the West, of Africa, different languages that are now stripped of their identity, stripped of their natural way of beliefs, stripped of their names, stripped of their language, and not completely stripped because they were wise enough to preserve certain mysteries. Because here we are today, the certain mysteries were preserved. But now, when you see your kinfolks, your brothers, your sister, been beaten, killed, mutilated, abused physically, psychologically, sexually, because of their natural identity, their natural way of life, and then shaped and conditioned a certain type of way. These fears start to generate the fear of your natural identity, the fear of your natural way of life, the fear of practicing your spiritual beliefs. You start to fear doing these things. You understand, and then fast forward to go ahead, Rain.
So I wanted to cut you. Not that I disagree, but I wanted to put this pivot to it. As
Okay,
you said, before Christianity, there was a connection to the higher being. There was a connection to source. And a
right.
lot of times we talk about the forced implementation of Christianity onto the black people by the slave masters. But I look at it very differently. We
Okay.
always knew that there was a God. We just
Yes.
we have to adopt whatever God, because I always say God isn't limited by language, culture, or rituals, right? God is just pure energy. So they attach their belief systems. I still, because even if you look at how us, right, as
Mm-hmm.
Black Baptists, not spiritual Baptists, like Black Baptists, Southern Baptists, the way we sing a hymn, the way we call the spirits, the way we invoke that Pentecost is very
Yes, it
different
care. Yes,
from.
so that's what I wanted to get to. I was going. I was you jumped because I was explaining the conditioning first because there still was a conditioning before we grasped. Okay, let's do something with it. We have lemons. Let's make lemonade, and that's what I wanted to get to. There was a whole bit of time before they didn't just come to the new land and just say, "Okay, yes, we're going to accept Christianity. Yes, we're going to stop." No, no, no. There was turmoil that happened. So we have to acknowledge that because that trauma still lies in our DNA. That confusion and that conflict still exists today. And we're going to get there. And so there's still a war between this indoctrination and, like you said, that spirit that lives within a person. And so if we're going there now, we can jump there. Yes, our ancestors were very wise. They were very wise to take lemons and make lemonade. You can take a Southern white Baptist church and a Southern black Baptist church, and they can sing the very, like you said, sing the same hymns, sing to have the same devotion, put two of their deacons to pray, and it is not going to feel the same in that place whatsoever. You talk about the power of the Holy Ghost, the manifestation. You understand, we spiritual Baptists take it to another level, but these things are again innate in us. So then we talk about the memory code, DNA. But before I can even jump there, though, before I can even jump there, we still have to take our time because we're jumping in the sense of we talk about how Christianity has shaped Black identity. This is why is it that certain home structures are set up a certain way? Why is it that when people, if we talk about America, people that grew up necessarily, as you say, working juju or working roots and conjure, leave Mississippi and these southern states, move into big cities, metropolitan areas, and they do away with their upbringing because it's not socially accepted. And so they go to church. They
That's why I
hide
said
themselves.
earlier
You
that
understand? And so we have to talk about the
you
shaping and the making and the development of what did come with that. Not just the spiritual experience. We have to talk about the
unweave
fullness.
can't unweave you can't unweave the fabric that is religion, society, and culture, as I said
Mm-hmm.
earlier. It's so interwoven that you can't separate the two. Now, I wasn't trying to necessarily jump ahead. What I was trying to say is that just as much as Black identity has been shaped by Christianity, Christianity, especially within the Americas, has been shaped by the Black experience.
And in Europe too, because now you have churches, Pentecostal churches in Ireland and London, and they are picking up the cadence, the tongue talking, and all of that, the prophetic movement. Just if you would go to a Black American Apostolic or Pentecostal church, and so I agree with you 10,000% that we have definitely again taken lemons and made lemonade. But that's the beautiful side of it. There's two sides to the coin. And so I don't want to focus solely on one aspect. I want to cover both aspects because it starts ugly, then it got sweet. It starts very ugly and then it gets sweet. Hold up, someone, yeah. Okay. Yeah. And so we definitely by default, we can't change who we are as black people because spirit is in us. We are spirit. We are spirit. No matter how you identify, whether you identify as a black Jew, a black Muslim, a Hebrew Israelite, a Christian, a non-Christian, an atheist. By default, black people are walking spirit. And so no matter what we did it our way, but we still try to keep up with the Joneses because the Joneses set the standard of what was acceptable in society. We still talk about, again, white teachings. Let's talk about the church. Let's go there. Thank you, Holy Spirit, because I just got a download. You know, when we talk about the structure of the early black churches and even some today, not the non-denominational ones that are more casual and liberated, but we're talking about the traditional black church, be it Caribbean and or American. There was a lot of as you would say, toxic masculinity or misogyny that was implemented, be it outright in your face or not. Women can't preach. Women can't be in the pulpit. You understand women are to sit and be quiet. You understand and look pretty. You understand also the verbal abuse that oftentimes took place. Oftentimes some physical abuse in some places that was simply not addressed or swept under the rug. All of that came from the conditioning, I believe, and again, this is my opinion, you know, but over time we begin to spread further and further away from that. And even to this day, it's still a struggle in certain areas. If you go to, I'm sure, certain parts of the Caribbean that are more rural than others, there's a certain way of function that you're like, wait, this is so outdated. If you go to certain parts of the South, Mama Star, you can attest as well. You know, certain part, even to this day, that still operate in that very closed, rigid. You understand how many people have lived in fear because, again, they feel things. You have a lot of our elders, let's talk about this, that were spiritually gifted. Let's identify that were spiritually gifted. How many seers and people that were dreamers that grew up in a black church that was not spiritual and either had to stifle their gift, hide their gift, and even had children that were gifted. Because I have these conversations with a lot of elders to this day that, for example, are Kojic, seers, can see spirit walking, but were made to feel shame because of their gift, because that was not socially acceptable. They were demonized, castrated, cast out. You understand, from their community, or had to hide so that they can coexist in their community. And then you have a child that has the same gift, and you have to tell them, no, you don't see what you see. No, you don't see nothing. No, don't talk about that. You understand? And so then now, the spiritual aspect, we're now getting into the window where people are accepting their spiritual and openly talking about their spiritual gift outside of the pockets of like New Orleans and certain regions of Alabama and certain regions of south of Georgia and certain regions of the Carolinas. And we're talking about America, certain parts of, you know, the mountains in Jamaica where the Maroons are, where these things are open and people can be open about who and what they are and what they do. But when we talk about mainstream, there's a lot of fear there that comes from the trauma and the indoctrination that certain things that are naturally innate in us. You even have churches, for example, Shanique, that don't allow drums, that don't allow organ, that don't allow any form of instrument. These are black churches that don't allow any form of instruments in their church. And these people can't shout. They cannot hail out. They can't do these things. So what does that do? Stifle the energy that is within us. And I was actually doing research this week and discovered that a lot of the organizations like Southern Baptist, for example, was founded by slave owners. And so when we talk about the earlier traditions and indoctrination that was implemented, especially within the Baptist region of denomination, was definitely um, restrictive and majorly conservative and not for the advancement of all people. So we have to again talk about this, multiple sides of this. Yes, in all of it. Again, I'm gonna use a statement. We've taken lemons and we've made lemonade. We've been able to do something with it. We've been able to produce something great with it. But we're still fighting against those ways. We're still fighting against, okay, I'm spiritual, but I love Jesus. I feel the Orisha, but I still have a connection to the church. You understand? I'm a dreamer. Is it okay for me to go to church and the fact that I see spirits walking? I don't necessarily want to go and read for people, but this is who I am. I don't want to be cast out because of it. You understand? Go ahead.
So when I was listening to you speak, my mind went
Okay.
two places. And the first thought was that's all religious indoctrination. And we can't solely limit it to Christianity, because in anything where the religious principle of a text is used to shape the moral fabric of that society, you're going to find oppression. Because, as I said, I'm somebody that has a very tricky relationship with the
Mm-hmm.
Bible. These are the words that are written within the Bible, and we pick and choose which one we're going to make law and moral
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
doctrine, because a lot of these ill treatments, abuse, limitations, toxic masculinity, whatever you want to label it as, it's really just someone's interpretation of what they believe to be the rules that's ascribed to
Mm-hmm.
this book. So, do I believe that because Christianity is the predominant religion of the world, it has had a major impact on the people that felt displaced from their place in within the world to try to find their place within the world? And I understand that so much of us are brainwashed, for a lack of a better word, that we don't even read the Bible ourselves to see what it says, to say this is how our life is going to be set up. This is how we're going to make the internal compass that we direct our lives with, the thing. We just listen to whatever the pastor say and we trust his word for it. And this is things that has been passed on from generation to generation to generations. We may know a few quotes from within the Bible. We got to go back to the fact that the people that was stripped of their identity, as you said, didn't speak the language and wasn't even allowed to
Had
read
very
the book
hello. So
for
let's talk
many
about reading
years.
comprehension level, IQ level.
So they were just going by word of
Yes.
mouth. But when you want to, fit in to the society, and you are, as you say, a spiritual person that feels things, that knows things, that sees things, you're going to latch on to whatever is closest to what you had at home. And sometimes now you're 3, 4 generations removed from that original voodoo priest or that
Mm-hmm.
original
Mm-hmm.
Ifa
Mm-hmm.
priestess. So you no longer have that understanding of what is
Mm-hmm.
going on, but is there's something called the Holy
Yes. Yes.
Ghost. And it the Pentecost fire that you're feeling. You might be feeling Shango, you might be feeling
Mm-hmm.
Oya, but you don't know the wordage and the verbiage for these things. And now there is a system that is in place called the white man, right? That knows the power that lies within you having the awareness and the awakeness to this
Exactly.
knowledge and to
Yes.
these spirits and vocation. So they're not going to teach you about this. They're going to give you something because they know everyone needs that thing to give them hope. And for a lot of Black Americans, Christianity is that thing that provides
Yes. I was
stability,
going to next. The
because your
codependency. Yeah.
great grandmother, she was in church. She took your mama to church. The political meetings were in church. A lot of things that the church was originally built to do, they don't do anymore. So we don't really understand that power that the church have. Like our generation and our people existing within today's society, they might be like, well, how is church, we're living in such sinful times. But I was having the same conversation. Like, this is only one generation back where the Pope really wielded power, where there were Christian lobbyists. We see it now. We just don't see it with so much within Black culture, but conservative evangelicals, politically, politically, they are paying
Yep.
lobbyists. So We don't understand how Christianity on a whole
The
affects
world as a
so
globe.
much of our
And so
identity.
we and but you tapped on something that I definitely I like to get into again, not to go to the global aspect, sticking in here because we're gonna go further into this topic, as time goes on. And so I don't want to reach global yet, but sticking it here because we're just laying some bricks for the people. I oftentimes challenge people to think, not trying to convince anyone not to believe, because as everyone knows, I am not your traditional Christian. Do I go to church? Yes. Am I a priest and a pastor in the church? Yes. Do I preach from the Bible? Yes. But when you hear me preach and teach and even pray and convey who God in Christ is, it is not how your grandma and your granddaddy does it. You understand? I am a mystic. I am metaphysical. So I speak on the higher signs and the mysteries within the Bible. And I speak on the miracles and metaphysical things that Christ did do and the metaphors that are hidden keys within the Bible. So that's the type of preacher and teacher that I am. Not to trade anybody, but everybody knows on top of that, and even for my spiritual Baptist people, I don't place Christ above any Orisha, any Kaaba spirit, any Indian, any Chinese, any deity. All of them are equal to me. That's not to try to convince anybody else, but they're all equal to me because none of them are the creator God. The creator God, the grand Tet, Olodumare, the grand force is greater than all of us. But when we talk about, faith and belief, do you even know why you believe what you believe? You said something as a key, Rain. I went to church because my grandma, my mama, my great grandma, my big mama, my big mama went to church. My granddaddy was a deacon, my uncle was the bishop. Like, what beyond that? Because their relationship with God or spirit or whatever can get you anywhere. Their prayers are effective, wherever they're praying. But do you know why you believe what you believe? Do you know what you believe, why you believe? Why do you have this faith? Why do you feel connected to this? Have you even looked into anything else? Why do you feel compelled not? Let's talk about that. Because we always grew up, oh, don't talk to the Jehovah's Witnesses when they come knocking on your door. Oh, we don't deal with the Catholics because they pray to Mary and they believe in the saints. All this indoctrination that we're taught to believe. We don't deal with the Lutherans and the Methodists because of X, Y, by all the foolishness. And so, versus understanding, researching, questioning, again, comprehending, because our ancestors did not have the liberty to read and comprehend. You understand they had experience and encounters with God that held them anchored in their faith. But a lot of people did go to church because it was codependency. My husband beating me. I need help with these kids. I ain't got nothing to do. This is my peace. This is something that gives me some type of escape from the horrors of my reality. These were reasons too, but it had nothing to do with relationship with God or bettering one's character or life in the fullness. Go ahead, Shanique.
So, like, as you was talking about, the bells was like ding, 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 because we're asking the question, how has Christianity shaped your identity? And I want to go back to what was for so many generations the purpose of the church. The church was to tell
Who
you
you
who
were.
you were supposed to be, how you were supposed to live your life, how you were supposed to order your
Dress,
steps
conduct
day to day.
yourself. Yeah.
Church shaped your political views. The church shaped your financial views. Your church shaped how you view the whole entire world. We don't understand that as much because the church doesn't hold
That
that
power
same
anymore.
power
Nope.
within the community anymore because we're less religious now. We're more free thinkers now. We're more spiritual now. But for so many people whose identity was shaped by the church, it was because the church was that guiding light. It was that pillar. It was that stability. You know that every Sunday at 9 o'clock, this was where you're going to be, and you were going to get filled. Because we can't deny that the Holy Spirit, the
It does
whatever,
something. Yeah.
flows within the church. It flows within the church. So if I need to have some form of direction, I'm trying to figure out how to even fit within this society that's not meant for me, which is, even if you look at the Caribbean diaspora, it's the same thing. Okay, black people didn't have a true sense of identity. I tell people all the time, we're not the same people. Just because we're the same color, I'm a Igbo and you a Hussein. We're not the same people.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we're drawn together because of that melanin, right?
And the sound.
But
And the sound.
ethnic
It's the rhythm.
ethnically ethnically we're not the same people, and we don't expect different ethnicities anywhere else to have a common thought, because we all know that they're culturally, ethnically, and socially different. But it's only because we're black people and we all kind of look alike and share similar features that we say we must have these ascribed views. So when people were looking for some form of centrality, if that's a
I know
word,
what you mean.
I
I'm
believe
with it. Mm-hmm.
they turned to Christianity because they had nothing else. You know, there was no overarching system to tell them. People don't like to admit it, but we're a herd animal.
Mm-hmm.
We're sheep.
Mm-hmm.
We need to be
That
told
is a lot. That is a
what to
big
do.
reason too. Because let me tell you this: a lot of times,
I
people,
sh-
when people feel like they're missing out, when people feel like they're missing out, whether it be, you know, voodoo party, whether it be uh
your
prayers, whether
signal
it
isn't
be
the best,
church.
Ricky.
You said my signal isn't the best. Testing one, two,
It's
three.
not the best. It's choppy. Okay,
Mm.
better now.
Okay, I don't. As something about us, as you said, we are herd people, and when we talk about being a herd people, you have people that when they have not gone to church for so long, or they have not gone to prayers or mosque or temple or fete or dance for so long, you start to feel a void. Why? Because there's something about community. There's something about the collective power. The Bible talks about when two and three are gathered. You understand? Oshun teaches us the power. Oshun and Agbe teaches us the power of community and celebration and one being in one accord. And so when we get into that, there is something supernatural that cannot be denied. There's something supernatural about being in a space of sound prayer and worship, no matter what form it is happening in. There's something, and when you're not by yourself, or when you are in a group, and even for me, I'm gonna speak from my personal experience. I tell people all the time, I'm a sanctified, or be a man. I will speak in tongues and still catch a beam. You understand? And here's why. Because my experience in the church was very real. I saw my first miracles there. I saw my first ancestral manifestations in the church. I saw, you understand, real miracles performed and happening in the church. I learned about the power of deliverance and spiritual work and the power of water before I knew what bell and water was. I learned these things in the Pentecostal church. I learned these things, and I was involved in these things. And so it did help me. And it did pour and plant seeds in me that does make me who I am today and does help me along my journey, that I don't think I would be the same person without it. And I would never change it for the world. So that's why I say I'm never going to tell somebody not to go to church. And I still recommend, even for people that's never been to a Pentecostal church, a holiness church or a Black American church or a Caribbean holiness church, go. Not to join, but go and experience, because there's something you will learn, feel, and experience that the words you can't put words to it, you know, and there's something sacred there because our ancestors have built, cultivated, they have bled, sweated, and poured out tears and left something for us to pick up. So I utilize it. And even when you hear me pray, I don't care if I'm chanting Ifa. I don't care if I'm praying in Creole. I don't care if I'm praying in English. I don't care if I'm praying at church. I pray with that level of fire, Pentecost that is in me, because that's what I know and that's what I cultivate, and that is a relationship. And when I go into that zone, it takes me places, and so I'm not gonna just disregard it because I'm an awo. You understand? I'm not gonna disregard it because I work Obia. No, it works for me. And so I will tell anybody, do what works for you. And even though for those of you that are embracing and growing in your spiritual path, do not make the mistake of disregarding your Christian upbringing. Do not make the mistake of speaking ill of Christ or the Bible What I will encourage you to do instead is honor your ancestors, give thanks, understand the mysteries and the seeds, embrace the seeds that were planted, but most importantly, do your research. Do what your ancestors could not do. Research, read, study to show yourself approved. Get into the depths of what you believe to know truly why you believe it. Understand it better so that you can better understand yourself. Because again, whether you go the Christian route, the Jewish route, the Islamic route, the spiritual ATR route, it's all going to lead you where you need to be if you're doing it from a sincere, truthful place. And again, cultivating that spirit within. That is very important, cultivating the spirit within. And so I do believe as well that when oh Rain, you dropped a gem when you said that though. You dropped a major gem when you said that church gave people identity. It gave people identity. It told folks who they were. It also gave people positions of power that they may not have had. It gave people a position of belonging that they may have not have received in their everyday life. And so there is something special about the Black church, and that has nothing to do with colonialism. That has everything to do with our blackness and our melanin. But what I want us to do, though, whether you consider yourself a believer, a non-believer, being black in America, being black in the Caribbean, there's some form of Christian influence in your home, in your upbringing, in your way of thinking, in your perception. Because again, as Shanique identified, it is in the making, the fabric of the world, how laws and things are made. And so you have to know what is conducive for you, what works for you, and what does not work for you, and drop it to the side. Go ahead, Ray.
So I have a lot to say.
Go ahead. I'm on a Roe
As
Miller situation.
a person who was raised Pentecostal, my grandfather was a deacon for the Baptist church. I was one of those people that was in church Thursday through Sunday. I was in something. I used to go to carnival camp in Trinidad when there was carnival season. To prevent you from being tempted to be in the devil's way, you would go to camp to serve the Lord. And then I strayed away from that because I saw how much religion and Christianity was shaping my identity, that I wasn't getting to discover who Shanique was outside of the church telling me this is who I'm supposed to be. I, as a young Christian lady, you carry yourself this way, you dress this way, you talk this way. Your purpose is to be a wife and a mother. All the rhetoric that is surrounded fundamental Christendom, right? I experienced. And then I experienced the freedom of just doing things. I was Jewish for a while, I was Buddhist for a while, I've tried a lot of different spiritual walks in order to figure out what worked best for me. And by far, where God has redirected me back to is a unique form of Christendom, but it's still Christianity all the same. And I say this to say that we all need something to be our foundation. What do you truly going to plant your flag into and say, this is what I am, this is what I believe in, this is what I follow, these are the doctrines, the principles, and the things that are going to hold me to some form of accountability. And that's what Christianity is for me. It's the system that holds me accountable, because when you're who we are as spiritualists, there's so many things you can get into, and so many things have something to say, hey, these are the parameters that I'm going to operate, live by, abide by. Then I might be a very different person just because there's no boundaries. So Christianity for me, and this is just my personal experience with it,
And
has
you know, it's funny
provided
you
me.
say that because I'm sorry, I apologize. I said it's funny that you say that
Yes.
when you spoke about Christianity holding you accountable. And again, that is a personal choice based upon your conviction and relationship with God and where you are in your spiritual journey. Because I oftentimes say why I love Ifa, and it's more so Ifa out of and Hinduism is because they hold you accountable, compared to Christianity, because you have a lot of Christians, whether we speak in present day or times of old, white, black, and indifferent, that have done whatever the fuck they have wanted to do with no regard, and even some in the name of the Bible, whereas you do that shit in Ifa or in Hinduism, you're gonna be dealt with and confronted. And so the accountability comes at a different level. And I think again, what makes it unique within our umbrella of spiritual baptism is you still get to encounter Orisha, beings, and all the other. So at the end of the day, you're still being held accountable. But if we're speaking to the everyday Christian that is not within the umbrella of spirituality, I feel that Christianity has a great deal of a lack of accountability because there's too much hypocrisy going on. Even within spiritual Baptist faith, there's too much people living outside of the alignment and the walk of Christ. You understand? And there's no check and balance system.
So that's what I'm gonna say. That's because they don't have a real relationship with God. As I say, if you're not truly, if you don't believe what you believe, if you only say you're a Christian because your grandmother was Christian, you've never actually picked up the Bible, read the word for yourself, felt that conviction, known that, okay, I'm gonna say I truly believe in hell. I don't believe in hell. But I'm saying if this is what I'm saying I believe, then this would be something that would terrify me. Because even if I don't pay the immediate ramifications, I would know in the back of my head there's an eternal ramification and damnation to come. So a lot of people that you see living in a hypocritical way within Christianity is because they know internally on a subconscious level they don't believe what they say they believe.
Okay, Ashe. That's a beautiful point,
It's
Miss.
not
Thank you.
because it holds you to any less of a standard of accountability. Because if you really study the Christ like consciousness, that's the highest
Conviction. Yeah,
accountability and conviction that a person can have, is answering that higher self, because you only sit with you at the end of the day, right? But
Ashe.
that's what I'm saying. The people who say they follow Christianity, who say they believe in the Godhead, who say they believe in these moral doctrines and principles, they just pick and choose what works best for them.
Ashe.
Most of us aren't living Christ like. Most of us are not following the Ten Commandments. Most of us are not living anything that resembles Old Testament fire and brimstone. Many of us would have been killed 10 times over by the old God.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
we have to decide what works best for us and our moral doctrines, because no matter what religion you're going to pick, it's something my spiritual father said to me the other day: everything is a cult, Shanique. You just got to decide which one you want to join. you know and when you have that awareness that every religion has its contradiction, every religion has its shortcoming, every religion has its dogma that's not going to make sense to you, you have to know what works best for your personality type. you
Ashe.
know even
Hey,
as
what
I grow,
feeds your spirit?
even as I grow within my spiritual walk, as I decided, okay, I'm like, okay, Shanique, we really gonna do this Christian thing. We really gonna stick it, we're gonna stick with this Baptist thing. The convictions for me has been different. Certain things within myself has to change, because I'm now deciding, hey, this is what I'm saying I believe, and I'm going to walk in the manner of what I say that I believe. I've been telling God, give me till next year though, because I need some time. I got some hoochie in to do. I gotta get some things out of my system. But my intentions is to live by these words and these principles, because this is what I'm saying. This is my doctrine. This is my dogma. This is like, if okay, like let's say you follow Kemetic and you're living by the laws of Mahat. That's why Mahat made you recite in the afternoon that you did not, you know, commit these offenses, because my intentions to start off the day might have been to not do these things, but the day happened and I didn't really follow through. There's different levels that of accountability that all religious systems provide. You just have to figure out what works best for you, because no matter which one you join, it's going to shape who you are. That's just how religion, culture, and identity works. It's a symbiotic relationship. And once you understand that, it makes it easier to be in alignment.
Navigate. Yeah, I love that. That was spot on. That good evening, Sonia. That was spot on, and I love that. You know, and so let's get into family, fear, and faith. How um, Christianity can, in fact, impact family dynamics or family structures.
Oh, I can talk
And
about
then,
got a little
okay,
story real quick.
yes, go ahead.
For a majority of my life, after I stopped going to church, when I was old enough to stop going to church, so like around 13, and I could just make my own decisions, my father had a very fervent prayer. He would always pray that I would go to church, that I would get to know the Lord, that I would develop a relationship with Christ. But like, he really wanted me to go to church. I grew up in the Caribbean, Trinidadian. I grew up Pentecostal. If you know anything about Pentecostal Trinidadians, their number one op is who? Spiritual Baptists.
Mm-hmm.
And when I decided I was going to baptize, initially my father was very happy because, oh, my child is going to go to church. This is what I've been praying for, because I believe her life will be better if she believes in church, you know, and she has this fever for God. So he was happy initially when he found out that I was being baptized not only as a spiritual Baptist, which took him back, but I was baptizing as a Orisha spiritual Baptist. Well, Lord Father God, I could have killed a man. I could have signed his death warrant.
Oh yeah.
Could I sold my soul to the devil. Oh, worse yet, when he found out I was going to moan. Like, well, now you're just put the laying bands on you. You're putting seals upon your head. That is against the Bible.
And
You
this is the
know.
thing and this is why I laugh about when I hear people say that, because I'm like, we read the ritual out the Bible, and the tribe of Benjamin was sealed 12,000, and the tribe of Gad was sealed 12,000. Like, it's in the Bible too. We just deal with the mysteries in the Bible.
So it put a strain, and it's still, I feel like now he's gotten a little bit more comfortable with it, but he's still not accepting. But I'm like, but this is your prayer. This is what you asked for. I'm a whole evangelist. I'll be preaching. I'll read the word. I
Yo, look,
pray.
you getting flued out. I love
I'm
to
like,
go
I'll be in
preach.
church. I'm like, I'll be in church more than you. But because he understands that Baptist deals with things that are outside the realm of traditional Christendom,
Christianity, yeah.
there is a fear. There's a fear that I have somehow made an alignment with the devil. There's a fear that somehow my soul would be tainted and I won't be able to see the pearly gates. And that's where the indoctrination of religion really shows how it plays an impact. Because if we were different people, that could have been the end of our father-daughter relationship.
Relationship, yeah.
There's people whose parents stopped talking to them because they married a Jew, or they came out as gay, or whatever sin the Bible says is the most relevant sin at the moment, and they feel that they're somehow betraying their God. Like, I know with the Seventh-day Adventists, they erase you. Like, they can't say
Yeah.
your name anymore.
Yep.
You are no
You are
longer a
dispelled,
part of
baby.
the family. You can't come around because you have broken some cardinal sin that's in a Bible that was written by who
But
knows.
okay, but listen to this though. So even when we talk about that, that goes to the colonialism, like indoctrination aspect. Because like my mother don't deal with incense. My mother can't stand the incense. Understand? And that just burns her up. Like, you bringing that voodoo into well, now I got a whole shrine room. But long story short, I just don't burn them when she in the crib. You can smell them when you reach home, but I don't burn them when she in the crib. But look, your Christ burn them in the book of Matthews,
Okay,
frankincense and myrrh.
her.
So it's like study to show yourself approved. People, wake
I'm like,
up.
what do you think the Catholics be
The
burning
reason,
and everything?
but again, why they didn't want us to do this? Why they didn't want that is because if you give people resources and tools to tap into their personal power, you are afraid they're going to overthrow you, and so
Like
that type of fear has passed down.
I listen to the new discourse right on social media. It sometimes come up on my timeline with
Uh
the
huh.
Christians bashing witchcraft. And I'm like, you know how much obia they was doing in the Bible?
Bro, how much OB they still doing in Pentecostal church when they mixing them oils and giving you them oils at revival service, or they putting the oils on? They tell you to bring the
I'm
oil, and we're
like,
gonna
you
leave it on
think
the
getting
altar
up
for a
in the middle
week.
of the night, anointing your walls and praying from the Psalms is not obia?
Hello, they say
Okay.
bring your bottle of olive oil. We're gonna leave it on
But
the
wait,
altar for a
let me
month.
anoint it down.
You understand? I'm like, I
I'm
even saw
like,
this
you
video on
think
YouTube.
laying hands is not work?
Actually, let me find the video. It's a video on YouTube with a bishop actually online on in the service, and they mixing the oil in the bowl right there doing water. Why do people going up in the Holy Ghost? He's sitting there mixing the oil right in the Pentecostal church. Let me find the video, and they want to say we working. You understand? It's been there. It's been there.
It's
I
in
can
the.
name mothers in the Kojic church. You understand? It's been there.
I'm like,
Because again, this is
all the
who we
prayer and
are.
fasting I remember doing as a child within the Pentecostal church. I said, no, this is the breeding ground for magic. Whether you call it voodoo, whether you call it obia, whether you call it Sufism, whatever you call the magic. There's
Hmm.
education and a understanding of rituals that occurs that invokes that spirit.
Yes, yes,
All
yes.
invoking different spirits or even the same spirit. Just because you catch in tongues and I'm shouting doesn't mean we're doing anything different. We're just speaking a different language. That's
That
all.
part.
But we're
That
still
part.
communicating to the same God, you know?
Hmm.
And there's this fear from anything that looks different from what they were told Christianity is.
Yes,
Because as
yes,
I said, there's a lot of magic. The whole Solomonic magic tradition comes from the Bible, right?
yes. It
That
does.
that comes from Judaic Christian practices. And we fear it. Why? Like I had this conversation with someone and I was talking about why people fear voodoo. And it never made sense to me why people feared voodoo. Because to me, it's like, y'all ever seen a Pentecostal person catch spirit in church?
Baby, when the mothers and
And they
wives
got to
come and
bring out
work
the
with
white
you, the
sheets
white
when they
sheep,
start rolling on the ground.
Dambalawedo, Sawedo.
But you're
Ah,
telling me
yeah,
that you're afraid because the spirit catching look a little different?
that's it.
Because I'm like,
And
if
when they
you
start to
were to
roll around on the
take,
floor like a snake, how did I
I
not
was like,
get?
if you were to take a white person that's never been to any type of like black spiritual church, right? And throw them in like a really hot Pentecostal church where they really catch the Holy Ghost and they start speaking in tongues and start running around the church. The same reaction that you're having to voodoo is what they would have to your Pentecostal spirit. So we have to understand that
I
it's
like
all
that analogy. I never. That's a good one. That's you're talking about the intensity level because it's intense for them. So when you go to the next level, come on by the feast house, come on by the fat. That's like when you bring in a
but I'm
Karen
truly
to a
like
holiness service. That's a
I
good
went to
one.
a Pentecost I went to a Pentecostal church that was a hot Pentecostal church. People was catching spirit. speaking in tongues, running around the church, dropping on the floor, rolling. I was like, and now that I go to feasts and I go to different things, I'm like, this is not that different. You just that in Baptist voodoo stuff, you will see like a full manifestation of the sitting down of the spirit. You don't really
Yes.
see that in the Pentecostal faith.
You see
They
a pass
feel,
by. You see a pass by.
yeah, you see
You
them
understand?
feel it, but you don't see them invited in. That's the
Mm-hmm.
only difference.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I'm like, we have to learn to remove the fear
Bro,
and remove stigma
I might
and
go to a holiness
realize that
church with some water in my bag. Throw water.
my new thing is throw camphor. Throw camphor.
Hi. Already yeah. Let me see who coming today. Go
Come
to the
in, let's
Pentecostal
throw some
church.
camphor. Go
Hello.
see.
Let me run
'Cause
outside by the door real fast.
oh, if I throw
I
some
will say
camphor and
not
start
go. I will say
getting
not go. I
some
cannot go
far
take a
from my
shit.
heavenly home in a Pentecostal church,
Mm-mm.
hmm
Let me tell
something is
you.
gonna come. You know,
Yeah, you know.
and that's what I find beautiful about even how much they have tried to make us fear ourselves. We can't escape ourselves. Because as I said, your mother coming in 3 o'clock in the morning. Because what's the hours of spirit? 3 to 5. Your mother coming in your bedroom 3 o'clock in the morning with the olive oil, anointing you down because she had a what? A dream.
Dream.
As much as we try to run from spiritualism, from the gifts, no matter how much we try to say we're going to be fully programmed by their indoctrination, you cannot fight what's innate.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Even Mambo Danielle, who is my Caucasian voodoo sister, and she was initiated in Haiti, and I've seen she catch some damn good spirit, Mama Letta and Legba. Woo! But anyhow, she grew up Pentecostal, and when she left the Pentecostal church, went into a Kabbalistic order. You see how spirit always just set you up for more when you in spirit thing already. You in spirit thing. She said the oneness Pentecostal church I was in had tongues and interpretation. So it was like, okay, we're going up the ladder. We're going up the ladder, you know. And exactly, conveniently during the witching hour, exactly. Because again, these things are connected. We use different vocabularies, and again, some of us choose to just add a little depth to it. A lot of our grandparents, our great grandmothers and grandfathers and Uncle Nim kept a lot of mysteries. And I also want to acknowledge the fact too, there was a lot of family secrets that did not get passed down. So when we talk about slavery and post those maybe a generation or two after slavery, after that, a lot of family secrets in Obia got cut off. And so you saw grandma doing certain things around the house. You understand? You saw her put certain things in her church bag. You saw her wear always got her head covered like she's a mambo. You understand when she's sitting around the house in her moo. You understand all of these things. Certain things above the door, by the door, in the corner. So magic and spirituality has always been in the mix. But over time, and if you call it what we call it a charm, a seal, all these, they're not gonna know that. Grandma gonna know anointing above the door. We may take a piece of chalk and draw a seal and then put the oil on it. So it's been there. And so we have a different vocabulary of it. And so sometimes some things get lost in communication. And again, it develops a schism where there becomes rejection or demonization, one party versus the other, or vice versa, versus saying, yeah, like, Big Mom, I do that too. Or teach me some more. Or you sit back and learn or observe, or sometimes you have to sit back and go back into your memory bank, you understand, and pull out those secrets because they didn't have the vocabulary that we have. Again, they didn't have Google, Chat GPT, library cards. Hell, they weren't reading books. They had encounters with spirit, dreams, vision, time in nature, a prayer life.
I want to say, like, to me, it's always going to be within the culture. So, because no matter how much we try to bandage it with religion and put these boundaries within religion, certain cultural things are always going to be there. Like in the West Indies, you don't need to know no magic, you don't need to know no obia, you don't need to know nothing, but you know to go to that sea and go bathe with some blue. You don't got to be no spiritualist.
And for the Southerners, they would drop ammonia and sea
Okay,
salt or white
you
salt
know
in their
things,
bath.
and right with your house, you got to go sweep it out, leave it open, mop it out. You know
All of
what
that.
to do. You may not know why you know these things. And that's the beauty about being a walking computer. As you say, things live within our DNA. So they try to strip our identity. They try to put on this false identity on us with the moral doctrines that are associated with Christianity. But African spiritualism, like your grandmother tell you, come drink this bush before you go to school. And you don't know why you're drinking this bush before you go into school, but every year you was drinking the Karaili bitters and thing before you go to school. That was a spiritual cleansing
Yes.
within
Did
itself.
you guys do? Did you do cod liver oil too? Cod liver oil. Oh God.
So every year before school started, my grandfather used to make this tea with like Karaili bush and all these other different things, sienna pods. Now you in the bathroom gonna be friends, but it did really clear your mental brain and prepare you for the new school year. So we had the medicine workers within our bloodline for years. We had the seers. Because my father would be the first one to call me. And before I even told my father I was going to moon, he was like, I dream ya. You better not let them people go put no bands on your head. We have the sight, we have the gift, we have the talents. So no matter
Yes.
how much the indoctrination of however the new fashion that we put it on as, you want to put on the Christian armor, go ahead. I bet you the obia is still gonna sink in. You want to put on the Islamic or aura, whatever the doctrine that you need to put on to fit within the society that you live in.
Mm-hmm.
Not everybody
Mm-hmm.
has the courage to march to their own beat of their own drum.
I should. I
You know,
should. I
because that
should.
takes a lot of courage to be the only one in your family, especially if you grew up very staunch Christian. To be like, oh, I'm gonna go pick up a crystals and a tarot card and be a woo woo girl. You know, that takes, because that there's gonna be a form of ostracization. As I said before, we're herd people. We're not built to deal with that type of ostracization, if that's the word. You know,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
so a lot of
Mm-hmm.
people want to conform. And I don't judge anyone anymore. It took me a long time to realize that they're just conforming because there's fear, and fear is a real thing. Like I may see things, I may hear things, I might even go in the store and be drawn to tarot cards and don't even know why, but I've been told for so long that that's the devil. That's the devil
Mm-hmm.
calling.
Astrology. Why I want to know so much about my shrine, and we always talk about our signs, but don't nobody want. Oh, I'm not into that astrology stuff. But you're so proud of your zodiac.
So it's so much conditioning of the mind that it takes a real strong individual to be like, hey, I'm going to try something else. I thank God for me being the way I am. I just always like to try things, and I never liked being committed to nothing too much.
Mm.
So it gave me a chance to say, well, no, Judaism don't work for me because I don't. When I was Jewish, I didn't feel God, and I'm a person that I have to like feel it. You know, I tried Buddhism. I liked it, but I was like, that's a little too calm. I need a little fire. You have to know like yourself, because religion is just like the clothing that you put on the body. But the higher connection with God is the naked body.
Yeah.
It's the
Oh, drop a gem today. I hope all you catch that. Yes.
okay.
So.
So whatever you
Mm.
put it on, you can take it off whenever you want to. It doesn't become who you are. The naked shell, that connection with God, that prayer life. And prayer life doesn't have to be praying in any way. I be talking to God like that's homie. Be like, yo, today I don't know what you was trying, God. But you see me. You see me, I see you. Thank you for bringing me home. It doesn't have to be this big but when I go down in my Pentecost prayer, I go down in my Pentecost
Hey.
prayer.
Yes.
But
Yes. You
not
talking
all
right?
the time it has to be that. God just wants to hear from you. He just wants to know that you appreciate all the things that he's doing for you. So whatever clothing you need to put on to express that to God, do so. But always be mindful, like my spiritual father says, just know which cult you join in. Know which cult you join in. Do you have the mental, physical stamina to live within that essence? To follow those rules, to follow those dogmas, to follow those expectations. And if you feel like you can, explore it. I don't understand why for so long we feel like we have to be stuck to this one notion of what religion we're going to be. You don't have to be the same thing forever, you know? As long as you know that you were searching for God. As long as you know you were searching for that connection with that higher power, you know, and as long as you know your intentions is pure and you're a good person, because no matter what religion you join, at the core it wants you to be a good person and just live your life. But just really be aware that whatever religion that you are a part of will eventually shape who you become, because that's the purpose of religion.
I can't hear. 1 second. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
I don't know why I can't hear you. Give me a second.
That is so true, Sonia. Tradition and conditioning has us believing like that. You know, tradition has our mind already programmed, just as well as conditioning. You know, we want to hold on to these old values, and I'm like, yes, having traditions, having principles, all of that is okay, you know, but we have to also understand that time is ever moving forward, so the traditions has to be updated, you know. Can you guys hear me? Let us know if you hear me.
I can. I could. No. I could. I could. See you, but I can't hear you. It disconnected me, and then it brought me back in. But the sound didn't come back in, which is strange. One
I can
second.
hear you. I don't know why, you know.
Okay.
Can you hear me now?
Um. Let me see if I can come out and come back in. You stay on. Hold up. Say something.
Can you hear me?
Yes. So I have to come out and come back in. So let me reconnect Instagram. So for a good little second, I could not hear anything you said. I think because we've been having funky weather here in Georgia, there was the router had a quick blackout moment, but
Uh,
it jumped me right back on. But when it came back on, I couldn't hear a damn thing. So let me reconnect. Make sure
is
the
that
Instagram.
is, is that
Huh?
Ganesh? Is that Ganesh?
Oh, you know it. On Wednesdays, you'll see me either wear something with Ogun or Ganesh. You'll always see on Wednesdays. You'll see me wear something for Ogun or Ganesh, and sometimes even both. Um, yeah. So 1 second, I have to reconnect the live stream real quick, you all. But this has been a wonderful conversation. Like I said, you guys definitely have been giving some great feedback. Thank you, Prince. Thank you, Sonia. Mama Star. Again, because you guys experiences, all of us have had some unique experiences. Again, whether it's been growing up in the church, um, or not growing up in the church, but growing up around that community and the energy it has validity. And so I like it. Even tonight, I saw some people grew up with Christian upbringing, but yet voodoo was still in the home. This is preservation of our traditional ways, and our ancestors tried their very best to do. I wish more shared, had chose to share uh, with their children, with their grandchildren, but it is what it is. We are where we are, and so we ought to do the work and take accountability and leveling ourselves up and putting that work. That means refining our gifts, refining our talents, building strong relationships with our ancestors, building a stronger prayer life. You understand? Because some of us are not praying enough, whether it be to the spirits or to your ancestors, to God, Jesus, whoever. But
Signal
develop
is breaking up.
oh God, no, don't do
Signal
me.
is breaking.
And I can still hear you. I can still hear you. Yellow, orange for Ganesh. Yeah, this is my Ganesh. So you guys can see the shirt because I see people asking about it. This is Baba G. Om Ganganapati Namo Namaha Shishidivina Yakunamo Namaha Ashdavina Yakunamo Namaha Ganapati Baba Moria Om Ganganapati Namo Namaha Shishidivina Yakunamo Namaha Ashdavina Yakunamo Namaha Ganapati Baba Moria. Yes, Shanti Om. So yes, that's my Baba G. Remove of obstacles, just like Baba Ogun and Eshu. Cut down obstacles brings peace and serenity when you're going through, so that you can have the mindset and the clarity to overcome to get to the next phase. So that's what it's about. And none of this takes me away from my Christian belief again, because I understand the fullness of God. And so all of us have different walks. All of us have different paths, and it can look different. You have to know, thank you. You have to know what works for you. You got to know what works for you. Some things that work for me may not work for Shanique. Some things that work for Shanique may not work for me. And some things that work for you all is so you know what works for you, but always honor where you come from. That is one thing. One Kabbalistic writer that I love speaks about in Aberlin the Mage. Honor your foundation. Honor where you come from, no matter how far out you go. Honor where you came from. It is not by chance. God didn't just bore you in the bloodline. You chose the bloodline. There was a reason you needed to be exposed to what you were exposed to. There was a reason you needed that energy and those seeds and that foundation in your life. There's a reason. And so take a moment and receive from it and build on it. Go ahead, Shani.
I just want to really reiterate one thing before we start to wind down.
Mm-hmm.
Don't be afraid to try different things. Don't
Mm-hmm.
be afraid if you find yourself getting a strong calling to wanting to start doing the mala beads and saying the incantations for that. Don't be afraid to feel like I'm somehow portraying or betraying my Christian identity by doing so. Maybe Christendom was the thing that was meant to get you from one stage to the next, and now it's time to elevate to the next thing. And sometimes you might elevate to the next thing and find yourself right back at Christendom, you know? So be open and say to
Mm-hmm.
God, hey, God, I'm searching for you. Open the pathway so I can find you. And
Mm-hmm.
watch how you would see different things will start to come to you. I was talking to my friend today and I was like, if you had met me 4 years ago, I had altars up for things that now I would be like, girl, you know? But it
Mm-hmm.
was part of my journey in finding God. And in that journey, I found myself. And a lot of us don't ever develop that true sense of self because we're so limited to having these Christian beliefs. Oh, I have to be this way. I have to live this way. I have to pray this way. I have to. No, just
Mm-hmm.
worship God.
And it is called Christianity. After Christ, obtaining Christship. You understand? Jesus was not the only Christ, but obtaining Christship, tap it into your higher consciousness. But even for Christ to be able to type for Yeshua to become the Christ, to tap into his Christhood or obtain the Christos, is what it's actually called. To obtain the Christos, he had to travel. He had to go different places: China, India, Tibet. You understand? Different parts of Africa too. He had to learn different levels of spiritual science, healing sciences, mathematical sciences. You understand how the body works, biology, all of these things, so that he could actually help to heal and perform miracles. Just like a Reiki healer and a massage therapist has to learn the anatomy of a body to perform their task properly. It's no different. And so, as Shanique said, Christianity opened the door. Maybe you need to go look and experience something, whether it be for a week, a month, 3 months to a year, 3 years, or whatever, and you find yourself back again. There was something there for you to pick up, receive, maybe a discipline that needed to be cultivated, maybe some exposure, maybe some added elevation to your essence, your personal power, your personal ashe, so that you could sometimes better understand your Christian walk. Because even for my students, and some are in the group today, some of my students that grew up in a Christian background, maybe left the church or partially active in the church, grew up with the Bible, did not understand the Bible. But the moment I started to take them into metaphysical science and certain Kabbalistic teachings, and break down certain things, the light bulb went off where they can go back and understand the text in the Bible at a different level and comprehend it at a different level. You understand and grasp what they're reading, and so again, and even through other walks that again helps them. And so, no, be patient, be receptive. You're not going to know everything all at one time. Be receptive, be open, be patient with yourself, be gentle with yourself. But faith is a substance of things hoped for and the evidence of things not seen. And so, long story short, you're not going to see everything coming. But if you're moving with pure intentions, the right intentions, you understand a good consciousness, a consciousness, as Shanique said, to know, understand, love, and connect with God, then know that your journey is going to lead you at every point and junction in which you need to go. Some may be very bizarre. Some you won't see coming unexpected, different cultures, different languages, whatever. And don't be afraid if it's a cultural barrier or difference, if there's a language barrier or difference, do not cut yourself off. Rain is not stopping to go to the fest because she don't speak Creole. You understand? She getting her blessings. You understand? And when they come and visit her, they're going to speak in a way that she can understand. You understand? When I have a dream, I don't speak Hindi, but you better know Shiva and Kali be talking. You understand? And so, with that being said, trust the journey. It is all within you. Our ancestors have been to all four corners of this world. You probably have cousins generations apart in China or India or Thailand, Korea, some goddamn one you don't know. Wales, some because our ancestors were spread, so we are definitely multifaceted people. Trust the journey. Receive from your journey. Embrace the journey. Embrace it. And and most importantly, give honor to your foundation. Do not discard your foundation. Go ahead, Ray.
So I want to say one thing before I forget, and I know you're going to forget as well, too. I just want to remind everyone that is watching the live that Baba Ra is a professional spiritualist.
Yes.
So don't be hitting him up thinking you're going to get a reading for free or you're going to get a consultation for free or he's going to help you get your life together for free because spiritualists, we got to eat too. We have bills to pay just like everyone else. Go to someone that can be trusted to do the work. So we don't often promote, I don't feel enough the services that are provided, but we all need a little guidance, especially in these times. We all, we all feel like we could pull a card. I know I could pull a card, so but we all feel like we can. But sometimes you need to go get a professional reading. Sometimes you feel that inclination inside of you, like I need to know something. There's something that the universe wants to tell me, but my channels are not clear enough for me to receive that download. Visit your local spiritualist. And I know you're probably like, how can I trust these spiritualists? I see so many of them on Instagram. But I'm telling you, we're really in this. You know, we've walked this walk. We've met the spirits. We've done the work. You know, go to him. And that's my little message. That's my little message. For all your services, it's on the screen. Look it up. Some of y'all need to clean your house. And I'm not talking about physically. Book, come, get the readings. Figure out what's going on. Figure out how to cleanse that
Yeah.
energy.
So my phone, I don't brain. Why is it every time every retrograde the damn technology want to act wonky?
Because it's Mercury. It rules technology.
Oh, so the iPad died. So thank God I'm quick on the draw with my phone, and the streaming never cuts off. So thank God for that until I end it. Oh, Mercury fucking retrograde is a yeah.
I
And,
tell
it's,
you,
and
every time
again,
I'm
it's four of
like,
them. It's
oh, I'm
four planets
smooth
in retrograde,
sailing.
and on top of that, there's a full moon on Saturday.
Yes, yes, there is.
I was not aware of this moon, and we still said we actually got to
In
fulfill our promise.
Aquarius.
Yeah, so it's
And
a lot
Aquarius
going on.
also deals with technology. So,
It's a lot going on. I
a
just
lot
thank
going
God
on.
y'all are still with me and hear what the iPad just came back on. Thank God, because Rain actually brought up to me, and I almost forgot. But as I'm watching the clock, she brought it up to me, and I do want to do it. But since we are in this energy, we're gonna see what's going on. Rain suggested that we do a reading. So for someone. And Sonia, you've been giving some wonderful feedback the past few times. I actually want to bless you with the reading.
Bless,
Yeah,
bless.
yeah. Sonia has been real good. And Rain, who do you?
I do have my cards, and I'm going to offer the person a private reading because we're already at the 1 hour 30
Yeah,
mark.
yes, I would
And,
do that. Rain, I would do that too. I would do that too. I would do that
and
too.
you know, I'm going to give the reading. I just saw him. I don't know how to pronounce his name.
Kwaku.
Kawaku?
Yeah,
Kawaku.
Kwaku. Ah, look how
Yeah.
Ifa got Bill. Nice. All right. So that's what we're gonna do. Sonia, I'm gonna be hitting you up in your inbox. All I ask is that you post a testimonial after, and Kwaku saying post a testimonial of my sister's reading for you. Tag her, shout her out, and about your experience. So that's what we agreed to do. But this conversation went so well
Yeah.
that we don't want to take too much more of your time. And so I thank you all for joining us. I thank you all for your feedback. I thank you all for your conversation and your energy and support. It's been great. I love you all. Again, as my wonderful sister was very adamant about doing, I posted the flyer. You guys know you can reach me. The flyer is available on all of my social media platforms, listing what services I do offer. Check it out. And if there's something that's not there, but you are inquisitive about, or you want more information about the services listed, please reach out to me, and I'll be happy to share some information with you. But I pray that you all have a wonderful night. This was awesome. And I look forward to next week's conversation. This was really, really great. And so I love you all. And I pray that you rest well and that you dream well and that the rest of your week be prosperous and well. Have a beautiful night.
Have a beautiful night, everyone.
I love, I love, I love, I love. Sun rays like a satellite. Energies bring me back to life. Catch me chillin' with the halo. Universal flow, I belong here. Keep that focus on that starlight. God of my universe, part of my mission, righteous the all might. Raw splitting the sea into that twin side. Go far intuition, lifting up that soul right. I love, I love, I love, I love. Elevate.